Hi everyone, I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Camp.
Call the buzz, we're calling.
Take him back! Take him out!
You die in prison as well.
First up, we go to Lebanon, New Hampshire, for the arraignment of Anthony Bovair. He's charged with 3 counts of arson and 2 counts of first-degree assault. Bovair's alleged crime spree included setting fire to a local apartment complex, as well as the First Baptist Church, a historic building dating back to the 1800s. Fortunately, there was no one inside the church as it burned, and there were no fatalities from the apartment complex blaze. Bovair, who had a lengthy rap sheet, quickly became a person of interest, but he went into hiding. When he learned people were implicating him to police, he resurfaced and allegedly stabbed 2 informants, including a 60-year-old woman. Both victims survived, and Bovair was arrested. He confessed to the fires, but provided no motive. Later, he was charged for setting a 3rd fire from the previous year. At the arraignment, the prosecution outlines what a menace Bovair is to society.
The facts of this case are both disturbing as well as concerning in that if he is released, there's no confidence that the community will be safe.
When the judge gives him a chance to comment, the defendant becomes unhinged.
Mr. Bovair.
You should give me about $500 bail to have gone and stabbed my cousin to death. Maybe kill my aunt and my uncle Kevin. Maybe I can cut him up and eat him on a frying pan.
The judge takes his $500 suggestion and then multiplies it by 1,000 and sets bail at $500,000 cash. Nearly 2 years later, Bovair accepted a deal where he pled guilty to 9 felonies. He was sentenced to 25 years in a state prison. Perhaps the only bright spot in the story is that the First Baptist Church underwent a massive rebuilding and will be open again to the public. Next, we take you to Albuquerque, New Mexico. The defendant is Christopher Dominguez, a serial car thief in court for probation violations. Dominguez was previously convicted of breaking into and stealing a number of vehicles, which could have landed him in prison for up to 10 years. Instead, a judge gave him 8 months in jail, probation, and a trip to rehab. But Dominguez couldn't stay clean, failing 3 drug tests and not showing up for community service. Dominguez is back in court to ask Judge Cristina Jaramillo for one last chance to prove he's on the straight and narrow.
He suffered a tragic loss in his life. He got married very young, had a child. The child died while he was at work. I know we've heard the words last chance before, but that's what I'm asking for this time, is just one final and truly last chance.
If the judge rules against him, Dominguez is looking at the possibility of 6 years in prison. Before she makes her decision, Dominguez makes his own seemingly heartfelt plea to the court.
I want to change my old way of living and have a promising future. Thank you for your time, Your Honor. Respectfully, Christopher Dominguez.
The defendant's fate now rests solely with the judge.
Given a deal, I think 6.5 years for this many cases is a great deal. And that's the benefits you're getting out of it. So take advantage of it. Good luck. Thank you.
When things don't go his way, Dominguez's attitude does a quick 180. Minus the time he's already served, Dominguez is handed a sentence of 5 years and 8 months for his crimes. His next stop, New Mexico State Prison.
Come on, stay with us. Come on, wake up.
Somebody. There we go. Stay with us.
Next, we go to the Cook County Courthouse in Skokie, Illinois, for an incident that shows that not all activity happens in the courtroom. Sometimes it happens in the courthouse bathroom. A 24-year-old male found unresponsive, apparently from a drug overdose.
Come on, stay with us.
Cook County Sheriff's deputies are on the scene and immediately try to revive him.
Come on, wake up.
Stay with us. Somebody.
has given the man naloxone, a drug designed to reverse the effects of opioid overdoses. But there's no guarantee it'll save his life.
Do you know his name? There's a med bottle right behind him. Come on, man, wake up. Nobody. You're here, so everything at the moment. Stay with us. There you go. Whoa. Okay, come on.
It appears the man is conscious, but he's not out of the woods yet.
Okay, we're getting meds here. Watch your head. Just relax. Come on, stay with us. Do it again. There you go. Oh, no. Keep him. Yeah, have him sit and... Just took a little too much stuff today. Okay? Please, thank you very much. So relax. Do you know where you're at now? What's your name?
Thanks to the quick work of these first responders, the man survives. But now he's got to answer for bringing illegal drugs into the courthouse.
I have a hot syringe back here.
He's already in court for possession of a controlled substance and theft cases.
No, don't get up. Don't get up. Don't stand up. Just stay down. We don't know if you fell or not.
Once he's back on his feet, he's charged with heroin possession and forced to undergo mandatory drug treatment through the Cook County Department of Corrections.
Just sit there. You're fine. You're fine. Just keep breathing.
Next, we're in Detroit, Michigan, for the sentencing hearing of Taiwan Coakley. The 42-year-old was convicted of manslaughter for using his vehicle to run over another man following an altercation. Preparing to issue the sentence is Judge Vonda Evans. But first, attorney Terry Price asks for more time.
Judge, I need to look at the pre-sentence report with more depth. I'm not satisfied with the guideline scores, and I think I may have to file some written objections with you instead of just verbalizing them, because I think they're way off.
Sentencing guideline scores are based on the facts of the specific incident, as well as the offender's past criminal history. In this case, it appears the attorney thinks the recommended guidelines are too harsh, and is requesting more time to review them and possibly submit written objections.
Okay, well, I'm more than satisfied, Mr. Price, that your training will allow you to review those guidelines and to make whatever corrections that you want. Obviously, you are in a position, if you choose to make any motions that you want at that point.
Judge, we're not talking about post-conviction. We're talking about now. I mean, I need to look at the pre-sentence report. I need to review it with Mr. Coakley. None of these things have been done.
You've not done that?
No, none of those things have been done,
How long
Judge.
is that going to take you?
I would say maybe a day.
Well, it's not going to take that long.
Well...
because you don't have that long to go over this report. Now, I will give you until 12:30.
Instead of the full day counsel just requested, Judge Evans is giving him just 1 hour.
That's not enough time,
Well,
Judge.
then you make it enough time.
I can't.
Well,
That's
now
not
you
enough
do the
time.
best you can, because at 12:30, I am sentencing Mr. Coakley over your objection.
But you haven't even had time to review the
I-
report. We sit
How
down
you
and
gonna tell me
Judge.
when I haven't had an opportunity to
Because
review?
I watched you with it. That's how I
I
can
just
tell you
read
that.
the report and the letters I got here before you did. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll see you at 12:30. Take him back. Take him back. Take him back. 12:30.
Judge Evans guidelines. Taiwan Coakley was sentenced later that day to 3.5 to 15 years in prison for manslaughter.
Sit down and be quiet.
Our next story takes us to Las Vegas, Nevada, where Douglas Herndon's presiding. The defendant is Gary Walters, who's on parole for various financial crimes. He's in court today over restitution he was ordered to pay as part of his sentence.
I've been making my payments. I've been on Social Security. I've been paying what I can in restitution. Okay. All of a sudden, he says, you got to pay $26,000 a month.
As Walters makes his case, there's a man standing a few feet behind him. And the judge takes notice.
And then back to the original court, and then possibly...
Hold on a second. Who's this guy staring at me over here?
This is Kim Blandino.
I'm a co-plaintiff in the civil case.
Kim Blandino has nothing to do with this criminal case, and he's not even a lawyer. But he is a co-plaintiff in a civil suit that Walters has filed against his former attorney. Blandino has earned a dubious reputation for filing frivolous motions and joining civil suits where he has no affiliation. But Judge Herndon is not about to let Blandino disrupt his courtroom.
Okay, are you an attorney?
No, not
Then you need to sit down and quit staring at me like somehow you need to talk to me or whatever.
I do need to.
Pardon?
Can I make a record?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to make a record about you in a minute, but you need to sit down and be quiet because you're not a plaintiff or a defendant in my criminal case. You're not an attorney. You can't appear in my criminal case and act like an attorney, so sit down and be quiet. Mr. Walters, go ahead.
Walters continues, but when Blandino physically reacts to Judge Herndon's comments, the judge has a few choice words for him and his habit of acting like an attorney.
You know what? Let me tell you something. You want to act like an asshole, but I'm telling you, that gets you nowhere in court. And you know what else gets you nowhere in court? Sitting in the audience of a court while a judge is engaging with somebody and shaking your head and being all demonstrative. So get out.
I'm sorry, it was inadvertent.
No, it wasn't inadvertent. Don't give me that. It's not inadvertent. It's never, get out. It's never inadvertent when you come in and act all disrespectful to people.
Blandino exits, but feeling disrespected, he later files a motion to have Judge Herndon disqualified from the case. The motion was denied.
State of Edinburgh versus Kim Dennis Blandino.
18 months later, Blandino's back in court, but this time as a defendant. He's been charged with extortion and is under house arrest. He has a hearing before Judge James Bixler, who's well aware of Blandino's history as a wannabe litigator. Blandino's representing himself, but the court has appointed Steve Alter as co-counsel, which puts Blandino...
Stand by counsel.
I have an objection.
Shut up.
I have a right to object, I believe, Your Honor.
You have the right to get held in contempt of court. And that's what's going to happen if you don't shut up. I'm not putting up with any of your crap here today. Your reputation has preceded you. Will you appointment on him as standby counsel?
Your Honor, I can. However, Mr. Blandino, after he spoke outside, wanted a little bit of time to speak to me in detail about his case and his desires, and then also to look into my background a little bit before he would...
You want to interview you?
Yes, sir.
I object to that laughing, Judge.
I object to you. I think the defendant has already categorized himself as a vexatious litigant.
I object.
You object all you want.
Can I make a record?
No.
I've got a motion.
What did I just say? What did I just say? No.
I can't say anything.
No.
Blandino refuses to quit, to the point where others in the courtroom begin reprimanding him.
Come on. Shut up. Shut up. You're getting real close to getting remanded.
Blandino finally gets the message and agrees to meet with the court-appointed counsel.
Okay. Bye-bye. Great.
Okay. Thank you. I think you're very impatient, sir.
Blandino remained under house arrest for extortion and impersonating a public officer.
Avery White, floor, please.
Now we head to Painesville Municipal Court in Painesville, Ohio, where a sentencing hearing is underway for Avery White. White pled guilty to criminal mischief after he was caught spray painting graffiti on a train caboose owned by Grand River Railway. He potentially faces 10 days in jail. Now, this may seem like a typical small-town crime, but Michael Cicconetti isn't your typical small-town judge. Before sentencing, Judge Cicconetti gives White a choice between jail or a more creative punishment.
So, you have a choice of 10 days in jail, to be determined by probation, or we were looking yesterday at those railings right out in front over here with Dave, and they really need painting. And the black railings are somewhat decorative, they're not used, but they're in horrible shape, they have rust on them. So if you want to do some painting, instead of going to jail, you can do that, okay? You can scrape them.
White quickly agrees to painting the railings instead of jail time, but there's a catch.
You're going to go out there and do the railings, you're going to scrape them and then paint them. The difference is, you're going to do fight. So you take your choice, what is it?
The young graffiti artist may not be used to working with a toothbrush, but considering the other options, 10 days in jail, he can work with it.
I'll take the second option, Your Honor.
Judge Cicconetti has built a reputation for handing down creative sentences over the course of his years on the bench. In one unusual hearing, Judge Cicconetti allowed a woman who assaulted a man with pepper spray to receive the same treatment in court. Fortunately for her, instead of pepper spray, the canister was filled with water. In another case, he ordered a man caught mowing obscenities into his high school lawn to cut his team's football field with an old-fashioned push mower. Judge Cicconetti retired in 2019, but he's remembered for coming up with unforgettable punishments for some pretty forgettable crimes. Joining me now is the judge from that story, retired Judge Michael Cicconetti. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Give us a sense of what made you start handing down these creative sentences.
Well, I mean, it was pretty much by accident. It was a person that had not stopped for a school bus. And I had seen people pay the fines, and I'm starting to see repeats on there. And I said, there's got to be a better way to prevent these people from doing that. So I gave her a choice of suspending her license for 60 days or ride in the school bus for a shift, a morning shift, get up at 6:30, go with all the elementary kids. And I wanted her to see the danger. And, when she finished, she came back and said, that's what I needed to see. I understand now. I really didn't understand the dangers of what I was doing and the lives that I was putting in danger.
Has anyone ever chosen the jail time over the creative sentence?
I've never had a defendant choose jail time over the creative sentence, ever.
How'd you decide to come up with a toothbrush in this particular incident?
I was out for my walk, and I'm walking by the courthouse, and I look over the railings. I said, oh, my God, those things look like crap. I should call building maintenance and have them come out and do something with that. And I said, you know what? I should call the maintenance department. Why don't I just have this kid paint the railing as a punishment? And then as I'm about ready to say that, I go, hey, you know what? Let's make it a little more creative. Let's have them do it with a toothbrush. I needed the publicity to show other people you can't go around and spray paint these the boxcars. Everybody thinks, oh, that's harmless. No, it's not harmless when you do that. It's other people's property. So that was the lesson that was designed to do, and that's I don't deny that, and I think because I do a little bit of that and generate a little bit of publicity, it prevents other people in our area and in the community, and maybe other people around the nation, from committing those offenses.
Have you ever received criticism from other judges, your peers?
Other judges, no. But every once in a while, I'll get the ACLU. They'll start screaming about, this type of punishment is not permitted by the Constitutional. It's cruel and unusual punishment. Then it fades out after a while. So, I never worry about that. I never worried about criticism. Everybody makes mistakes. But as long as in your heart you know what you're doing is the proper thing, I can sleep at night.
Michael Cicconetti, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.